Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jasadanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravana Chari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jasadanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravana Chari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Sri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. हरे नाम संकीर्तन की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्र शतश्री श्रीमद् भानग्रे सभा चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंडगिरी गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री राधा नील माधव की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। श्री श्री गौणिताय की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। गंगा मई की जय। यमुना मई की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रमानंदे हरि हरि। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the today's program. Let me introduce the speaker today, Dr. Lila Purushottama Prabhu. He is a very senior devotee with 25 years of ISKCON. He is in, and he spread the message to thousands of students and intellectuals. He is a professor, and he is the director for IIT Mandi. He is also a very respected scientist, having published 120 research papers. And we welcome him to Seattle and thank him for letting us take advantage of his association. He is also a disciple of His Holiness Rompa Swami Maharaj. And today's topic is understanding God through science. Understanding God through science. With that, Prabhu, you can start. And we have time, so no need to rush by 8:30 or something. If you want to take more time, you can take.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here. I'm asked to speak about God through science. Anybody who can say which is the chapter in Bhagavad-Gita that talks about God, absolute truth? Seventh chapter, the knowledge of the absolute. Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Good. So, why we invoke God? Anybody who can give an answer, short answer? Why do we invoke God?
Because we have a natural tendency to worship.
Natural tendency to worship. Yes. Please, it is very important that if you have interactive mode, then things will become much more realizable. Yes. Why do we invoke God? What is the necessity of God?
When we are in pain.
Eh?
When we are in pain.
When you are in pain, okay?
Material gain, we want some material.
You want some material gain, but hard work can give you material gain.
Because nothing happens without him, so you have to acknowledge his presence when we start something.
You have to acknowledge his presence when you start something. What about the mothers? Mental peace. Okay, for mental peace, why you have to invoke God? For mental peace, you go sit on a mountain top and be meditative. He'll get sitting in the front. Yes, but still now I have not got the right click. Yeah.
Because there's a longing, there's just an instinct desire.
There's instinct desire. Divya, do you have anything to say? Hope. So much of uncertainty, so much of yes. For taking shelter, you need shelter because you understand that we are so vulnerable in so many situations. Okay. We invoke God because we are not sure what is the basic building block of this universe, from where everything came from. Of course, if you study Bhagavad-Gita, we understand we are all situated in God. God is not something outside of us. He is everywhere. We are situated in Him. That's a different thing. But the point is, everybody asks this question, right? From where everything came? Janmadyasyata. And it is not an easy answer. Right? Like for example, if you see so many trees, so you say from where the trees came. So you will say from seed. Then you ask from where seed came. What is the answer? What is the answer? Eh? Laboratory? No, no. Eh? Are you able to follow what I am asking? A plant, you see a plant, you ask from where it came. You will say from the seed. But from where seed came? Eh? From the plant. So what is the source? The tree or the seed? Eh? So see, simple question. You don't have an answer. Neither the plant is aware of that it is producing a seed. You must also know this. Nor seed is aware of it is giving rise to a plant. Just like I will tell you. How did you come into being? How did you come into being? Through your parents? Do your parents know how you are coming, your evolution? You started with a single cell, right? You started with a single cell fused by half a mother's cell, half father's cell. And that cell somehow miraculously is growing and growing and growing and growing. And now you are more than 120 trillion cells. Neither you understand it, nor your parents understand it, but it's happening. Are you able to follow what I am saying? You are not aware of how your body grew from a single cell. Way back in 2003, the Nobel Prize was given to a person, not to a person, 3 people got Nobel Prize. So one of them, he studied a worm from a single egg, how it becomes 261 cells. And that 261 cells include the locomotion, the procreative organ, everything. Okay. So by studying that, he got a Nobel Prize. But he could study that because it is only 261 cells. Can anybody study 120 trillion cells under a microscope? You can't study it. Okay? So the point here is, all these wonderful things are happening. We are able to observe, but we cannot replicate. Try to understand this. You can observe these things, but you cannot replicate it. There is a difference between observation and replication. Right? We see how a grass is growing, right? But you cannot replicate, because no laboratory even can produce a grass. With all our understanding, we have understood so much, we are able to travel from one space to another space. But we have no idea. We have literally no idea the process of replication. Right? So, let us, I wanted to first make you think that source, what is the source of everything? If I go to science, many of you will feel bored, so I don't want to go in that direction. Let me talk about Bhagavad-Gita 7th chapter. Is that fine with all of you? You would like to hear Bhagavad-Gita, or you want to hear the science? Both. Okay. I am really afraid. You say that maybe little bit understanding of the science I can tell you. You see that it is always a puzzle for thinking people to understand from where these varieties came. From where these varieties came. Isn't it? And in the beginning we were taught that everything has come from the periodic table. All of you know what is periodic table? What is the first element in periodic table? Hydrogen, helium, right? So people thought these are the absolute truth. These are the basic building block of everything that exists. Okay? I was hearing one professor, David Tang, and he was telling that in fact we were telling lies, white lies to our students when we are telling them that everything came from periodic table. But we are taught at some point of time everything is coming from the periodic table. Okay? That means hydrogen, helium, all those things, oxygen, nitrogen, in some combination is giving rise to everything. Right? You can explain everything. That was the... Then people started thinking that everything is coming from one electron and two quarks, proton and neutron. That is how people started giving explanation, and they said that everything can be made. And then David Tang was telling that again we were teaching white lies. And then he was giving in that lecture, now I know, or now we know from where everything has come from. And his speculation is that it is quantum field. I am pretty sure another David Tang will come after some time and he will say, this David Tang was also telling white lies. But that's not the problem. Problem is not there. Problem is that the question itself is very important. From where everything came? Janmadi asyataha. Okay? So if you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janmadi asyataha itaratas अन्वयात चार्थेषु अभिज्ञ सुराट. That is the definition of absolute truth. Janmadi yasya ataha. From whom everything has emanated. And everything that we observe within our experience goes through three stages: creation, maintenance, and destruction. Isn't it? Everything has a start, everything is being maintained for some time, and everything get destroyed, annihilated. That is Janmadi Asyataha. And that Annoyad itaratas charthesu abhigya. Not only everything is coming from him, he alone is directly and indirectly cognizant of everything. Directly and indirectly. And finally, Surat. Surat means independent. He alone is independent. Now you try to understand what must be the basic building block of everything. By intuition. By intuition you can realize that something that from which everything is coming, that something must be eternal, isn't it? And that something must exist independent of everything else. Right? And that is fully cognizant of itself and its own expansion. By common sense. So if you go by your common sense and you look at this statement of Veda, it is so self-evident. What is God? God is that which is a source of everything, and He is present in His source as well. That is how He is cognizant of everything. That means there is... So, normally what happens when you talk about God, you have this idea, somebody outside there watching you. No. You remove God, there is nothing. When you see something, there is God. So this very idea is also there in Svetasvatara Upanishad, where it says, Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam o vidadhati kaman. That means He is the original conscious being, and He is the original eternal being. He alone became many, and He alone satisfies everybody's need. And this is the basis of our existence. To explain this, Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita 7th chapter, there are 30 verses in 7th chapter, where Krishna starts with the statement, Maya sakta manaha partha yogan yunjan madasraya asamsayam samagramma yatha jnāsyasi tachrunu. Everybody should always think, who is my source? Once Narada went in front of Brahma and said boldly, because Narada is the son of Brahma, he said, my dear father, I thought that you are the supreme, but now I have doubt that you are not probably the supreme, because you are constantly meditating. Who is the supreme? Can you please tell me? It is a natural question, because we may say, here is my father, here is my mother, but they have no control over my bodily evolution, my future, nothing. Who is my source? Just like I gave the example of the tree and the seed. You could not figure out what is the source, yes or no? Similarly, what is my source? And this is a genuine question. All of us, we must, what is my origin? From where do I come from? It's a genuine question. So Krishna is saying that anybody who is interested to know the source, he is attached to that source. Oh, from where I have come from. Maya sakta manaha partha. You are attached to your source. You want to be grateful to the source. He has given me independence to think. He has given me the power to love. He has given me the power or ability to feel, desire. What is that source? That love for that source is Maya sakta manaha partha. One is fully attached to the source. And not only one is attached to the source, Yoga Nyunjan Madasraya. One takes shelter of that source. To know the source, just like All of you are devotees, so you know this question. How do you know he is your father? You accept an authority, and your authority is the mother. Similar way, here, to know your source, the authority is the source. So you have to take shelter of the source to know the source. It looks very puzzling. Asamsayam samagram mam yatha jnasasi tat shrunu. And Krishna is telling, how do you know this? Who is the source of you, of me, of everything that exists? To know that source, you have to hear the source. Tat shrunu. You must have the ability to hear. Why we are not able to hear? Because our senses are very agitating. We are not able to hear. We hear the noise. We cannot hear the substance because of agitated state. We are highly agitated by our sensory perception. So we have to come out of this agitation. When you are beyond your senses, when you reject all external noise, then you can hear Krishna. Krishna can speak to you because he is your source. There is no distance between the source and you. But because you are not properly situated, it appears the distance between you and the source is light years. But it's not light years, isn't it? Draupadi called out Krishna, and Krishna is there. And it is not only in the Kuru assembly she called out. She called out so many times. Whenever she called out, Krishna is there. Even in the jungles, in exile, she called out. Krishna is there. Okay? I stay in IIT Mandi. Near Mandi, if you go towards Kullu, there is a temple, Krishna temple. That deity of Krishna was being carried by Draupadi. So the history is like this. When Duryodhana and his party conspired to kill Pandavas, they were sent to that part to reside in a wax house. And they saved, and they were wandering in this jungle of Himachal Pradesh. And that is the time. Sorry. No, not that time. This is when they were in the exile in the thing. This is not Varnava, but during the exile, once Draupadi called Krishna, and Krishna reached there, and then when the objective was achieved, then Krishna said, "Now I want to leave." So Draupadi said, "No, you cannot leave." Then Krishna says, "I give you my deity to you. There is no difference between my deity and me." And that very deity is being worshipped in that temple that Draupadi got. So the idea here is that he is there with us, but we don't know how to converse with him because we are not situated in yoga, beyond our senses. So when you are beyond your senses, you can hear Krishna. Tachruno. Krishna is saying, please hear me. So do you have the ability to hear Krishna? If you have the ability, you will immediately understand what is God. So verse number 1, 2, 3 in Bhagavad-Gita, 7th chapter, Krishna is telling that to know about God is not an ordinary thing. And what is knowing about God? Jnanam cha vijnanam te aham prabhakhyami. Jnana and vijnana. Prabhupada translates jnana as phenomenal knowledge. Vijnana is numina. Numina means the source. Source of phenomena. We all have experience. And what is the source of that experience? Let me tell you that how many of you understand what is an experience? Can anybody explain what is an experience?
Something which you realize.
Something, what is that experience? For example, I ask you a simple question. Prabhu, can you tell me where you see me? Sitting in the Vyasasan sitting. I say, he is telling a white lie. Now anybody else would venture? Where do you see me? In your eyes. In this place? In this retina you see? Anybody else? Anybody else can say, where you see me? That is why our acharyas have said, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, if you don't understand the tattva, then most likely you will not understand Krishna ever. Tattva is so important. Right? So where you see me? These are all philosophy, right? Bhagavad-Gita is a philosophy. Where you see me? Yeah, please. He says mind. Where? Where is your mind? Where is your mind? So anyway, within science you understand that you don't see me. All that either some light or some sound from here goes and excites your sensory system, and then there is an experience within you. Yes or no? Same light, same sound is reaching here. Does it experience that I am here? You experience. So why you experience, why this doesn't experience? So what is an experience? This is the question. Right? This is the question. From where? So I have an experience. What is the source of that experience? Consciousness. Now Krishna would explain that. I will explain to you. So first of all, do you understand what is jnana, what is vijnana? You have suddenly one experience, like all kind of invention comes from sudden experience. Okay? So this, Krishna is saying, you have to know both phenomena and noumena. And he says in the chapter, verse number 3, Manushyanam sahasresu kasyit etati siddhaye etatam api siddhanam kasyin mam veti tattvata. That means very few will be interested to know jnana and vijnana, phenomena and noumena. Okay? And among those who are interested, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. So that's how rarity. That's how the rarity of understanding Krishna. It's not so easy. Okay? So now, the first section, verse number 1, 2, 3, is all about what is the absolute truth. The question. Right? And it is the answer to that, what is absolute truth, very rarely people understand it. And then Krishna is explaining in the subsequent verses, section, that is verse number 4 to verse number 12, the answer. So first, what is an experience? Krishna is explaining using 8 elements. Bhumirapo analo vayu, kham mano buddhirevacha, ahankara ityam bhinna prakritir ashtada. So what is meaning of that? You have experience. What are those experiences? What do you experience? 5 things. Sound, touch, form, taste and smell. These are 5 things. So from where how do you experience? So he is invoking 5 elements. Earth. What is earth? Eh? What is earth? Yeah, what is that earth? Mitti? Mitti? You see? So these are the mistakes we do. Did you see in COVID time, many people, they lost the ability to smell? Yes or no? Yes. So what is that? Mitti chala gaya, kahin ud gaya kya? Your body is made up of an elemental space called earth. When that tattva is withdrawn, you cannot smell. You lose that tattva. That means my body is made up of 5 elements. And that happens at the time of death. When death approaches, the first thing you lose is your sense of smell. That means the earth tattva within your body vanishes. So you lose the ability to smell. And so similarly, the water. It's not that you drink that water and that is water. No. Water is just like in Agastya Muni, he drank the entire ocean. Is that he drank all that water that you are seeing? No. He knows the tattva, water, and he knows how to swallow it. So that tattva, when it is withdrawn, you lose the ability to taste. So this body is made up of 5 gross space. Everything is made up of space. This is very science. I cannot speak to you what this science is. Because this is very, very tough thing. Kam Brahman. Everything is made up of space. Okay? So earth carries smell. Earth is that space that carries smell. Water is a space that carries taste. Fire is that space that carries form. So at the time of death, you start losing all this space. First you lose the taste of smell, then sometime you say, oh, I have no taste. You know, when people become old and old and old, they say, I have no taste. And then no hearing. They slowly lose the ability to, to feel the touch and hearing. There's a process. So that is what creation, maintenance, destruction. This is the process. Space is one by one getting withdrawn. So your experience, the gross five sensory experience, are what is the cause? This earth, water, air, fire, ether. This is what science has to, if science has to progress to the next level, they have to understand these five tattvas. We don't understand this five tattva as of now. Okay? And then the experience, these are the gross experience, and then there are subtle experience. And subtle experience can be accounted by mind, intelligence, and false ego. This is the source of your gross and subtle experience. So Krishna is giving these 8 elements as a source of your gross and subtle elements. But then sometime you have experience beyond gross and subtle, which we say spiritual experience. So Krishna is invoking in 7.5. What is? The soul. Above these 8, there is the unit of consciousness. And that is the cause. This unit of consciousness is the cause of your experience, spiritual experience. And 7.6 he says that this unit of experience tries to lord over the material nature. And Krishna says he is both the source of this unit of consciousness and the material nature. And 7th verse he says, Mataha parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaiva. Just like you cannot understand whether seed is the source or that plant is the source, you cannot figure out. Exactly same way, Krishna is saying everything that is, you experience everything. In this world there is only one thing that you have, experience. There is nothing. Only one thing that exists for you is your own experience. Beyond that, nothing exists. So, Krishna is saying that you want to understand your experience in totality, then that can be explained by understanding the source, Krishna as he is. Then Krishna is explaining from verse number 8 to 12. Rasoham apsu kauntaya prabhasmi sasisuraya pranava sarva vedesu sabdakhe paurusam nrusu. So by that he is telling that actually taste is he, the sunlight, moonlight is he, the Omkara is he, the ability within everyone is he, the sound in ether is he. This way he is trying to explain that basically Krishna is the basic building block of everything that exists. So once you understand what is the next stage, once you understand the basic building block, what is the next thing? So Krishna is explaining that from verse number 13 to verse number 19, surrender unto Krishna. Jai Sri Sri Radha Nila Madhav ki. So how do you know? Krishna spoke about it. And how many verses he spoke about himself? How many verses? Verse number 4 to verse number 12. 9 verses. 9 is a very significant number in entirety of Bhagavad-Gita. 9th chapter is the essence of Bhagavad-Gita. You saw in the 9 verses, Krishna explained about himself in 9 verses. Similarly, what is the pure devotional service? Krishna would explain from verse number 26 to verse number 34 in 9th chapter. 9 jeweled verses. This 9 is so important. Now, there are so many other things. Anyway, so in these 9 verses, Krishna explained source of everything is He. And we have to contemplate on it. Now he is saying you must surrender to Him. Daivi esa gunamai mama maya durattaya mameva hi prapadyante maya meta antarantite. So you want to understand Krishna as your source, you must surrender to Him. And then Krishna talks about 4 people surrender to Him and 4 kinds of people don't surrender to Him. Correct? So those who don't surrender, they will never understand Him. Even if you speak, like people are sitting here, if they don't have that ability to surrender, even if I speak millions of times, you will not be able to make progress. So Krishna is saying you must hear Him, but to hear Him, you must surrender to Him. Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu, Jnani, Cha Bharatarsava. 4 categories of people surrender, and Krishna is saying Jnani Nitya Yuktas. Who is a Jnani? Who is in love? I want to know my source. So he is in love with his source. That is called Jnani. Nitya Yukta. He is constantly meditating. He wants to know himself and his source. He is looking at from where I came from. Where is my eternal connection? That is Jnani. And Krishna says he is very dear to me. And then he makes a statement about that Jnani. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Such a Jnani who is in love with the absolute truth, he takes many births to understand, Are, this Krishna is the absolute truth. It appears his source is Devaki, his source is Vasudeva, his source is, he's being maintained by Nanda and Yashoda. But he is source of everything. So Vasudevaha Sarvamiti. That is the ultimate realization in surrender. When you surrender, you understand the same Krishna is actually the absolute truth. And then Krishna talks about the next section, verse number 20 to 24. Men of small intelligence worship demigods. Kama staiste hrutajnana prapadyante anya devata. So people, why worship demigods? Not because they are in love with the absolute truth, because they want to satisfy their material needs. That is why they worship. And finally, the 25th verse number to 30th verse, cultivation of this knowledge of the absolute truth would make you to remember Him even at the time of death. I just explained to you what is the process of death, right? You are losing. You are depending on this very body, and at the time of death, you are slowly losing your body. Your ability to smell, your ability to taste, your ability to hear, here is the ultimate. Anyway, so all those things you lose one by one. So if you are attached to that which you are not, it's a very painful process at the time of death. But Krishna is saying, three things if you are in knowledge: Adi Bhuta, Adi Yajna, and Adi Deva. If you are fully cognizant of these three things, then at the time of death, you will remember your source, Krishna, as he is. What is Adi Bhuta? The material manifestation. What is the source? Krishna. So if you try to understand, oh, seed is the first or the plant is the first, you cannot understand. You cannot explain anything. How replication, self-replication is taking place. 8.4 million species. All replication is happening automatically. So Krishna is the original seed. Aham bija pradaha pitaha. He is the original seed giving father of everything that exists. So he is the governing principle of the material manifestation. 8.4 million bodies are being generated again and again. Adi Yajna. All of us, we have some sense of sanctifying, right? You sanctify your work. All of us, we do that. There is a sacrifice involved. Anybody who is in human sense, they will always go for sacrifice. Sacrifice means every action we do, we sanctify it. And there is a process of sanctifying. And Krishna is the governing principle of sanctifying everything. Because the purity is the way you can see things as they are. Purity is the way you can hear Krishna. So, Adi Yajna. And Adi Deva. 33 crore demigods are empowered agents of Krishna. They are not independent. They are all dependent on Krishna. So when you understand these three things completely, by understanding Krishna as the ultimate building block of everything, he is the original source of everything. At the time of death, in truth, you can remember Krishna and get liberated. Attain your natural state. We are all situated in Krishna's consciousness. So to be Krishna conscious is a natural state. It is in his consciousness, just like in your consciousness, you conceptualize to build a temple. Temple manifests. In your consciousness, you want to become engineer and you become an engineer. In your consciousness, you want to start a business and make it success, and there is a business and it becomes successful. Similarly, in Krishna's consciousness, trillions of universes, they get conceptualized, they are manifesting, and within his consciousness he can also withdraw all of them. So everything is situated in his consciousness. To understand that Krishna's consciousness is Krishna consciousness. And that's why Prabhupada gave this name our movement name, International Society of Krishna Consciousness, and 7.1, the verse number. This is the verse on which Srila Prabhupada spoke the maximum time. Maya sakta manaha partha yoga nyunjan madasraya asamsayam samagram yatha gyasasi tatsrunu. This is the basis. So, the ability to accept the absolute truth as he is our natural state. So never think God is somewhere outside. God is here. This will be answered in the 8th chapter. Arjuna would ask, what is Adi Yajna, Adi Deva, Adi Bhuta? These questions, 8 questions he would answer at the beginning of 8th chapter. And Krishna would answer, Adi Yajna. Who is Adi Yajna? The super soul situated within our heart. Okay, so Krishna is within us. We need purity to see him here. He gives us the direction. But you don't want to know your source, he remains silent, neutral. Thank you very much. I hope I have done some justice to your topic. Any question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So just as we practitioners of Krishna consciousness, we understand the source is Krishna because it's told by our authorities. We accept it.
Accepting one thing,
yeah,
but knowing is another thing.
Correct. So, but science also has their own theory. What is the source? Which maybe keep changing it. So how do you reconcile these two? How do you convince them?
We are not here to convince those who are trying to speculate. Right? In this world there are so many people who will be speculating. That is not. All that what you need to do is that you must be convinced that he is the source. We lack the scientific understanding of Krishna is the source. It is not a problem that they don't understand. They are speculating anyway. What is the source? Right? The problem is with us. Even after practicing so many years, we are not able to explain that how Krishna, in truth, is the source of everything. He is there. There is nothing but Krishna. He withdraws, nothing is existing. Suppose space is withdrawn from you, what will happen to you? Where you will be? Nowhere. Do you understand? Everything is made up of space. Space is not there is some empty thing is there. No. Everything is made out of space. We withdraw that space, nothing is there. Okay? So, ultimately, the only space that exists eternally is the conscious space. The space where Krishna eternally resides. So these things we need to understand. They don't have to. Krishna has already told in Bhagavad-Gita 7th chapter, what is saying? 14th, 15th verse, right? He's saying, Mudha, Naradhama, Asurim Bhavam Asrita, what is that? Maya Apahruta Jnana. They will never surrender. Should I go and waste my time? There is no point. We need to understand.
So, Prabhuji, in terms of understanding, like as you talked about, right, how science has interpreted, like we talked with periodic table and then atoms and electrons. But even now science is coming to the point where they are going to the subatomic or where they are now calling it as a God particle, right, or something like that, right? So is that not where science has given up, that now we cannot explain any more phenomena beyond?
They will every time they will speculate one thing and then another thing.
But that also coincides with, I mean to say, Shirodakshai Vishnu, where Shirodakshai Vishnu is saying that I'm present in every particle, every jiva, I'm present there, right? So
This is what is this God particle? They try to sensualize. Okay, what is that? Senses. What is this God particle? There's just some Higgs boson. Papa, can you catch Krishna? Can you catch Krishna? Then you cannot catch yourself. Can you catch even unit of consciousness? What to speak of? The problem here is that within science, the syntactic exploration of things is a faulty process. You have to recognize within science, we observe the data, we manipulate the data, but we kill the observer. You are observing the data, but within your scientific paradigm, observer has no role. You understand? It is I who is observing the data. Where is this I? Okay? Forget about I. The cognitive matter is the first thing. There is a distinction between this and this. This is cognitive matter. This is inert matter. We don't have the ability. We established in IIT Mandi a division called Indian Knowledge System and Mental Health Application to explore this idea. Let us first study what is cognitive matter. Okay? Of course, the scientific community has started understanding that mind must be more fundamental than the matter, the gross matter. Somewhere, some scientists are able to accept this now. Okay? But it will take some time. But we have to study this. This is scientific exploration. Okay?
So Prabhu, you were explaining that when person dies, so the first sense he loses is a smell, then taste. So does that happen, kind of systematically like that? Then the last sense is
that
ear.
is a natural process.
Natural.
It not necessarily that is it is everybody has to leave the body by natural process. Accident is it a natural process? No. Right? There are so many ways. Right? People give up the body.
Right.
And our lifestyle have become so faulty. Very rarely people die of natural process. Right?
So, Prabhu, my follow-up question to that is like if we go by that sequence, when person leaves the body.
But you have to go through. Where you have to go through. It may be sudden or something, but That is the process. That is the process. Okay? The soul leaving the body means it leaves those 5 spaces. There is a process. That process one may experience, one may not experience. But there is a process.
Yeah. So, Prabhu, follow-up question is, while taking birth, also it starts in the reverse order where the ear or the hearing sense develops first.
Exactly.
And that is why I think chanting or
Correct.
sound vibrations are
Sound
important.
is the first.
And while
Sound is
taking
the
birth
first.
and
First,
while leaving
yes.
body, it is the last.
Yeah. Smell is the last. Correct.
Hare Krishna. Thank
That
you.
is correct. And this is details there in 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is explained in detail. Yeah.
Anyone on Mataji's side?
Dandvat Paranam. How can we understand Krishna? How we can try to understand Krishna?
You have to hear Krishna with an unagitated state, and you have to surrender to him. This is the only process.
Thank you.
Today I was reading on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kari Soparsada Siyodhama Saha Avatari. Krishnera Durlabha Prema Atyanta Durlabha Prema Karivare Dana Sikhaye Saranagati Bhakatera Prana. So this is what is the process. So what is that? Atyanta Durlabha Prema. Atyanta Durlabha Prema. To attain Krishna is very, Atyanta, very difficult. Durlabha, rare. Atyanta Durlabha Prema. Karivare Dana. So to know Krishna as he is, what is saying? Sikhaye Saranagati Bhakatera Prana. Saranagati. Surrender. There is a process of surrender to Krishna. We must learn how to surrender to Krishna. That is the whole process. Right? You see, Bhagavad-Gita is a philosophy. But then, for laymen, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and taught us how to surrender. Right? So all of you are coming, sitting here, having darshan of the deity, serving here. These are all process of Saranagati. We have to follow that. Okay, while doing this, if you start hearing, see, one of the very important thing in our spiritual life is scrutinizingly study our literature. Assimilate the knowledge of the literature. Okay? So more we understand Bhagavad-Gita, better you become a devotee. Yes or no? Yes. So we also, that is why our Shastra says a devotee who is very advanced he is expert in the Shastra. He can explain the Shastra. Right? Because Krishna speaks through the Shastra. Tat Shrunu. Okay. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarvesya krupa sindhu vavacha patitanang pavanebhya vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Hare Krishna. the body will